Something that I forgot to mention was the hygrometer, and that's priced at about $15 to $17 depending on where you get it. This is an ExoTerra basic analog system, not real fancy or anything, and this tank is not as humid as it should be. It should be about 25% more humid, but the screen lid kind of lets some of the water evaporate out. I'm going to be getting a misting system made by ExoTerra to help and keep this tank humid as well. Another thing that I did not mention was a spray bottle, which is always helpful in these kinds of things to basically just keep the humidity up and keep the substrate moist. That goes for, I don't know, $3 maybe. You can find them cheap just about anywhere. Now inside here, there's the waterfall. It's nothing real fancy. You can find all different kinds of waterfalls for different prices. There's the lizard. She's kind of intelligent. She recognizes voices and can spot food from all the way across the tank, so that's good. You always want one that's bright-eyed and alert and not missing any digits or no broken tail. With her tail, she measures about a foot long right now, just over, maybe 13 inches. Like I said, she'll get over 2 feet when she's an adult. Males will get over 3 feet. Not much over 3 feet, but, you know, figure about there. This here is the bromeliad that I had mentioned, which was the most expensive plant in here. The pothos, look out. The pothos here, it's also known as devil's ivy. It's pretty cheap. It's one of the most highly recommended terrarium plants because it's not poisonous and it spreads. This is the prayer plant down here. It's called a prayer plant because the leaves will fold up at night. These are cat palms right here, and that's the Dracenia. Look out, you. She's trying to jump out right now. These branches, like I said, I got from the park, and I sterilized them in the oven, and the big one I sterilized with a heat gun. Like I said, if you use chlorine, you have to let them sun dry so that they don't, you know, poison your reptile with chlorine or chloramine. So that's about it for the tank setup. I need to get the lid on there before she decides to jump out again. Now when you get your lizard, it will probably come in a box something like this. They tell you not to keep it in there for over 2 hours. That's basically so that you don't neglect it. It's not a very good container for holding in humidity and moisture, and if they mess in there, that's not sanitary for them. But you should save the box in case you need to transport the animal at any time, because it can come in handy for that, to take him to the vet or whatnot. Now here's the lizard. Her name is Eve. Like I said, she costs $45, but if you get them smaller, about 7 inches long, they'll be about $30. I paid a little bit more because she was larger, which doesn't make much of a difference. I mean, they all grow equally as fast. Now what I'm going to try and do is feed her for you so that you can see how they eat. And what you should be feeding them mainly is crickets. When they get larger, they'll eat fish, worms, all kinds of fun stuff. You can even feed them mice, though I would not do that, just because mice can actually injure them. Now these are super worms, which are basically a gigantic mealworm. Really gross looking, really squirmy, not a very fun animal. But she absolutely loves these. We'll see if we can get her to eat it. You should dust these in calcium powder, but for this video I'm not going to bother. She sees it, and there we go. Not sure if you can hear it on the video, but there's actually a crunching sound that goes along with this as they eat it. I like to feed her by hand because it helps to socialize them. This is a very social reptile. They're kind of like iguanas. If they're well-tempered, they like to be handled, and the best way to keep them well-tempered is to handle them a lot. Not too much, obviously, maybe twice a day, and not for long durations because they will try to run. They're a good alternative to an iguana. I wanted to get an iguana, but since they get 6 feet long, I didn't have the room and I don't have the budget to feed something like that. So instead, I opted for this, which, like I said, the males will only get 3 feet long. There's another worm, and gotcha. So, when you feed crickets, it's good not to do that by hand because they tend to run away, and, well, your mom probably doesn't want them all over the house. I've gotten in trouble for that in the past, so I usually just let those go in its enclosure and it hunts them down. I also feed this guy waxworms, which are a dumpy little caterpillar type creature. Not as fast, not as agile as the mealworms are, but she likes those just as well. Mealworms and waxworms and other caterpillar type animals, larvas, should be kept mostly as a treat because they are higher in fat than crickets are, and you don't want your amphibian or reptile to get bloated or, overweight. Not that I really worry about that because she is quite active. But I also feed these to my my Pac-Man frogs. That's why I say amphibians as well. Their favorite is fish because, well, it's kind of like a salmon dinner to them. So that's about it for taking care of Chinese water dragon and its setup. Thank you for watching.